Have you ever trusted someone so much, only to realize that they were hiding a monster within? What if the person you love the most is the one planning your end? This is the horrifying true story of a betrayal so cruel, so unthinkable, that it will send chills down your spine. This is the story of Sarah and Daniel. A love that began like a fairy tale, but ended in blood. Cold blood. But what led to this nightmare? Was it greed? Obsession? Or something even darker? Tonight, we uncover the sinister secrets that turned love into horror, trust into terror, and devotion into death. Sarah and Daniel were the perfect couple, or so it seemed. Their love was the kind people envied, the kind found in fairy tales. But behind Daniel's charming smile, something sinister lurked. Sarah ignored the red flags, the late nights, the hidden phone calls, the moments he seemed different. Until one evening, she found something that changed everything. A note. A simple piece of paper, with words so cold, so terrifying, that her hands trembled as she read them. She has no idea what's coming. Sarah smiled as she set the dinner table, waiting for Daniel. He was late again. Lately, he was always late. Her phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. With a frown, she opened it. Just 4 words. Leave before it's too late. Her heart pounded. Was this a joke? Who would send this? A creak. The front door opened. Daniel stood there, soaked in rain, staring at her. But his eyes, something was wrong. Sarah's breath hitched. Daniel stepped inside, water dripping from his coat. His expression was blank, his eyes, almost lifeless. "Daniel, are you okay?" she asked hesitantly. He didn't respond. Instead, he slowly shut the door behind him. Another buzz from her phone. Another message. "That's not Daniel." Sarah's fingers trembled. She looked up at him, at the man who had her husband's face but felt entirely wrong. "Who sent you this?" His voice was hoarse, unnatural. I don't know," she stammered. Daniel, or whatever stood before her, tilted his head. Then, in the flickering light, she saw it. A faint shadow, standing just behind him. Tall, dark, shifting like smoke. Sarah gasped, stepping back. The air felt heavy, suffocating. Thunder roared outside as Daniel took a step closer. "You're not afraid of me, are you?" he whispered. Sarah's throat went dry. Her body screamed at her to run, but her legs wouldn't move. She swallowed hard. "Where is my husband?" Daniel's lips curled into a slow, unnatural smile. "I'm right here, love." A tear slipped down Sarah's cheek. "No, you're not." The shadow behind him writhed, stretching unnaturally along the walls, its presence thick like tar in the air. A gust of wind rattled the windows. The power flickered again. In that brief moment of darkness, Sarah swore she saw something inside Daniel, something shifting beneath his skin. The lights came back. His face was inches from hers now. "Sarah," he murmured, voice deep, distorted. "You let me in once. Won't you do it again?" A sharp, ice-cold breath ghosted over her ear. Sarah's scream stuck in her throat. Sarah stumbled back, her foot catching on the edge of the rug. She crashed onto the hardwood floor, her palms stinging from the impact. Daniel, or whatever was wearing his face, tilted his head, watching her with eerie amusement. Then, the lights flickered again. For half a second, his face split. The skin peeled away like old wallpaper, revealing something dark and shifting underneath. The shape beneath his flesh pulsed, writhing like a mass of insects trapped in a human shell. The power surged back. He was normal again, almost. But his eyes, they weren't Daniel's anymore. They were black. Endless. Hungry. Sarah scrambled backward. Her fingers brushed something cold and solid, her grandmother's old silver letter opener. A weapon. Something real. Daniel took a slow step forward, the floor creaking under his weight. "Sarah," he whispered. "You know me." Her grip tightened around the handle. "I knew my husband." Her voice was barely a breath. "You are not him." She swung. The blade met flesh. Daniel, or it, let out a strangled, inhuman hiss. The moment the silver touched his skin, his body convulsed. Black veins spiderwebbed across his face. His form shuddered, distorting like a glitching image. Sarah didn't wait to see what happened next. She bolted. The lights flickered again. This time, when the darkness settled, Daniel wasn't there anymore. But something else was. Something breathing in the shadows. Sarah ran, her heart pounding like a war drum. She didn't stop until she reached the front door, fumbling with the lock, her hands trembling. Then, warmth. A voice. Soft. Familiar. "Sarah." She spun around, her breath caught in her throat. Daniel stood there, really him this time. His eyes were his own again. No darkness. No hunger. Just confusion and concern. Tears filled her eyes. "Daniel." He blinked, touching his head like he had just woken from a deep sleep. What happened?" Sarah hesitated. Could it really be over? Then he stepped forward, and she felt it, the warmth of his touch, the steady rise and fall of his chest. He was real. He was home. Relief flooded her, and she collapsed into his arms. He held her tightly, whispering, "I'm here. I'm okay." Outside, the wind howled one last time before settling into a quiet breeze. The darkness that had tried to claim him was gone. For the first time in weeks, Sarah felt safe. And as dawn broke through the windows, filling the house with golden light, she knew the nightmare was over.